And hello my brave knights, princesses, and princesses, welcome back to Let's Play Narcosis. Last left off, we're in, Compass 2. And if you occasionally see me going out of frame, it's because I'm throwing my dog at his ball. Because it's storming outside and he's scared of storms, so give me 1 second. I was slightly behind Red Wolf and Ryan, and yet now I'm a step ahead of them again. But I won't say that too quickly because they could catch up.
You're very candid when describing some circumstances. Times when you felt crippled with fear, coming across the bodies of friends and colleagues.
Yeah.
It's clear you care, but there's an undercurrent of detachment in the way you present some of the more difficult moments. Was that your intention?
No, I've heard that before. I just did my best to paint a clear picture. When it comes to empathy, there's no manual for that.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm clicking, not clicking on camera, the cutoff of the last
I have
episode.
to ask again. Was it luck?
Conditioning. Conditioning and discipline. That's how I got down there in the first place, and that's how I got out. It's about keeping tethered to the task. You don't let yourself forget about the reality around you. You can't.
Let it go. Something fear. Just do it, please. Finish me. I'll have to do this again. We were doing this last episode, but I don't have a problem doing it again. A number's important. Find the other numbers. I know there's one on a couch somewhere, so that's why I'm looking around. Take this.
You saw terrible things. And even if you made it to the surface, you couldn't count on being rescued. I mean, I'd have lost my mind. Did you ever feel like you were losing it just a little?
No. When they found me, I'd been floating on the surface for at least 5 hours. I talked with therapists and trauma experts for months. Said I was hiding the hurt. But it's not true. I made mistakes down there, yes, but did I lose my mind? No. No way.
Okay, we were in there already. So this is where I was when Tyler called. So up to this point, it's blind. Terrible things. Did I get turned around? Well, time to run. So apparently everything wants to kill us. Oh, this is terrific.
This entire experience is defined by the fact that you came back alone. Your story started with 20 people, but ends with 1. So when it comes to telling those stories, you're the only one who can.
Yeah. There's a responsibility to get things right. For the record.
That was irritating. I'll be right with you, green guy. Going to first get some O2, because I'm going to need it. I know it, mentally. It's as if he's dispelling the fear from me. How nice of you. Could you follow me? Could you like be that way, this way for the whole game? What's up, buddy? Unlimited thrust enabled. What? Where am I even? This game is strange. It's irritating, but strange, because I've died so many times.
All good. Let's try in reverse.
We're back here.
Welcome back, my friend.
Huh? Rest in peace, Russ.
Hey. You alright? Come on, let's get back to the house.
Now we have 80
Welcome
again.
back to Open Air. I'm Emily Kaler. If you're just joining us, my guest is Kip Mattis, sole survivor of the Oceanova disaster. His first book, Hell or High Water, is a harrowing account of his ordeal. Earlier, we talked about the life aquatic, escaping the flooded habitat, and being lost on the seafloor inside a half-ton titanium diving suit.
Yeah. I'm confused. This game confuses me. So did we like do something to Russ? Is that what I'm getting?
Kip, I know this might not be easy, but I'd like to talk about the end. Can you read that for us?
Yeah. The list is getting shorter. The hatch opens with its usual reluctance, flooding the room with light. The pod is there. I'm going home. Tomorrow I'll be the sole survivor. But for now, I'm not alone.
Social frail husks copper helmets alone should be too heavy for to bear. But somehow between bedroom and beach, the ragged suit restores the ragged man. I have orders that he pulls his fingers to his lips and points to the knife at his waist, and he takes that's lost its luster, its edge, with a strength and purpose I've never seen but always known. He cuts a tie as it binds us, then strides into the sea.
How did you feel when you figured it out?
At that point, and that close, I was running on fear. So when I saw another suit in the room, it's almost too much to process. I couldn't believe that it was...
What?
Virgil, is that you?
Virgil made it. Just like me.
How did you get? I thought everyone was...
Only I'm locked inside the pod and he's locked out.
Can you hear me? I can't stop the launch. There's no override.
He's not coming back.
Oh, God. I'm sorry.
And that's on me.
30 seconds to evacuation.
So are you saying that if you did something differently, that Virgil would have lived?
That's right. Until I saw him, fear in his eyes, I thought I was the only one. It was a bad call.
Evacuation in 5,
This can't be happening.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Evacuation commencing.
I understand.
No, 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 no. I'm so sorry.
Now what?
You didn't kill him.
Really? Who did? Bad luck? I'm responsible. Look, I'm up here talking with you, and he's still out there.
Hey. Oh, I'm moving on. I'm not doing this. It's walking by itself. That's it? Well, that was a ride. That was quite the ride. Wow, man. Okay, so I liked this game. It occurred you to have a sense of direction, which irritated me, but that was more on my irritation was on my part, not the game. I'm trying to understand. I think it wasn't our fault that this happened, but it was our. I think that we might have killed our friend, and then everything else happened, and we've just been dealing with the guilt all the time as we've gone through this whole deal. And this was made in Unity. This is proof that beautiful games can be made in Unity. I mean, Valley was made in Unity. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I recommend this to any of you to play it. Go through it. There weren't any sharks. There was a giant squid, but there weren't any sharks. There were small squids and anglerfish, but that's it. That's all.
Kip, it's been more than a year since all this happened. You wrote a book and told your story. Are you ready to be done?
Yeah. It's time to move on. Get myself working again.
Kip Mattis, thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thanks for having me, Emily.
So he's alive. Virgil was left for dead? From KQDB in Minneapolis, Open Air is the award-winning interview show developing revealing one-on-one conversations with luminaries from the fields of art and literature, business and politics, science and technology, sports and entertainment. She's the one that interviewed this guy. You know what? Let's listen to them.
From KQDB in Minneapolis, I'm Emily Kaler. This is Open Air. The Oceanova project captured the global imagination when announced in 2016. 3 years later, a small crew of miners and researchers made their home more than 1,000 miles from shore, 2 miles beneath the sea. On February 2nd of last year, the $2 billion installation was battered by shock waves resulting from an undersea earthquake. My guest, Kip Mattis, was on site as an engineer when the habitat, Compass 1, began to take on water. He escaped with 2 colleagues, eventually finding himself alone on the seafloor in a high-tech dive suit. He endured 6 terrifying hours before reaching the surface and rescue. He was the sole survivor. His account of that day, Hell or High Water, was released last week to critical acclaim. Our reviewer calls it a haunting and poignant high point in the tradition of timeless, true-life survival stories. Kip Mattis, welcome to Open Air.
Hello, Emily. Thank you for having me.
There are so many incredible moments in the book, but it's hard to put those in perspective without setting the scene. So before we begin, could you talk a little about Oceanova and what it meant to you?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Oceanova was once in a lifetime. They're breaking new ground, making something meaningful. Mining methane hydrate frozen beneath the seabed. There's alternatives, but none so plentiful. It's clean and safe. I couldn't say no.
Okay, before we go any deeper, I'd like you to help me set the scene. Can you walk us through what happened, how it all began?
Sure. I guess I'll start at the beginning. 10:02, February 2nd. We were 50 miles from the epicenter. But an 8 on the Richter scale makes that kind of distance irrelevant. The shockwaves hit 6 minutes later, striking the south face of the HAB first and hardest. 27 minutes in, with that kind of concussive force, even the sealed modules were compromised. After that came the ocean. By 10:33, only safe havens in a sub or one of the suits.
There's a passage where you describe turning inward for guidance, and it feels important. Would you mind reading that for us?
Check your gear, trust your training. It's one of the first things you learn. But the second they fail, you fall back on what you know best. For me, it's the list. This time, it wrote itself. Keep breathing, find others, and get the hell out.
That's Kip Mattis reading from Hell or High Water. Now, I think it's safe to say that this book, your experience, is... well, it's about pressure, isn't it?
When it's all bearing down on so many levels, it's got to be managed. You can't shake the pressure. Just make your peace with it. Don't let it take the wheel.
There were 2 habitats, one of which was Compass 1, your home. But it was also an established rendezvous point in case of emergencies. Was there any precedent you could look to for guidance?
Yes. And no. I mean, there's protocol for everything. Has to be. Something to fall back on. Second guessing puts lives at risk. So it's best to stick to procedure, step by step. So with an all-hands call, you head straight for Compass 1. Try and reach surface from comms.
Do you remember a certain point where the scales tipped? Where you're like, okay, this is even worse than I thought.
Okay, I'm going to finish the rest of that in another episode, guys. So, you guys enjoyed the game, tell me. But I'm going to go upload the rest of that whole talk thing because it sounds really interesting. So leave a like and subscribe because there's always room for more. See you all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.